What's up with the YouTube, man? It's your boy Rojo, Convict's Perspective. As always, joined with the homie Big Flacco. And as you can tell by the thumbnail, that Rogaine Riders, he's throwing it up. As you can tell by the thumbnail, man, we're going to discuss a little bit why everybody knows how important September 16th is as far as the history of Mexico and Spain and independence and, so on and so forth. We're going to touch on a little bit of why it's important to other groups of people. So what do you think, Flacco, man?
This is really an interesting topic, man. And the first and foremost, what I'm going to say is, man, over the years, the history that I've been taught, the stuff I've researched, there's different parts that I've been able to take and dissect, and there's certain truths and there's certain mistruths that I've been told over the years. You know what I mean? History always gets distorted. So we're going to go into a little bit of factual documentation of documents of things that we can prove that are verifiable through sources, as well as give a little bit of spill as far as what we've been taught when we were indoctrinated, man. I mean, September 16th, 1968 is a significant date. And I'm going to start first and foremost. It's what's known as the expulsion of the Nuestra Familia, its birthday, okay, that they recognize. The original NF, right, at one time started around, let's say, 64, 65. We can debate dates. That's neither here nor there. And its main stronghold foundation was established, I believe, in Soledad, if I'm not mistaken, to where it started to grab hold. And it was considered called Nuestra Familia Mexicana, right? That was its origins. You can actually see tattoos of members, banners, and all that from back in the days that actually described it as that, man. So, as we talked to like Bo and others at the time in the beginning, both these organizations, they were not as deep in numbers in the early 60s. Their numbers were extremely low. You know what I mean? I think maybe in the 60s, you maybe had anywhere from 50 to 75 Mexican Mafia members. And the same thing with the NF, when they started to build this foundation, the blooming flower, there's different terminologies. I have since learned that through documents and resources that the Cinco Familia, which was taught in our history, was actually in existence all the way up to 74 and was just its separate entity of a group that was more along the lines of being a radical political movement. And I guess it came from, a lot of those teachings actually came from Black Bob. Why he put it there, I don't know. He was around that time. But let's get back into the origins of the NF. So it's recognized as the birthday. It's not exactly the day it was actually first founded. It was around 1965. Like, you had some founding members like Bruce Weddle Morgan, who was from Clanton, Little John Valdez from Little Valley, Chalo Hernandez, right, who was related to Cheyenne Cadena. You know what I'm saying? He was from Bakersfield, but they were both cousins. So these are like the long members that they actually were part of this group at one time. What it was first trying to originate started was, it was to fight some of the EME aggression that was occurring. And it was supposed to be a racial makeup group that was pushing along a movement for the betterment of the people and along heritage and Raza culture. They actually had a Raza newsletter that they used to print at one time in San Quentin. And so what they started to do right at that time is they used this as a covert operation to start uniting and start teaching and schooling each other. And they started to have a little bit of skirmishes that started to occur years before. And I think Rojo has a few of those incidents that he's going to discuss at that time.
Yeah, man. And shout out to Big Gabe Morales, man. These are some notes we took from his book, which is an amazing book, man. You need to look it up. What's the title of it, Flacco?
The History of Nuestra Familia.
Yeah, he's a great author, and everything he says is extremely accurate, man. But basically, it's considered the honorary NF birthday, September 16th of 1968. Like Flacco said, the origins are more like 64, 65. I've always heard 65 myself. And there was a dealer known as Sonny Pena. He had an old B number, B2054. And he claimed both New Mexico and Maravilla, right? He was murdered by Robot Salas on February 4th of 68. Now, Pena, he was a dealer, for under the EME. But come down the line, leading up to these events, you know, some people were associated with one side, some people were associated with another, but all this led up to September 14th of 68 in a dispute between Robert Robot Salas. You know, he had an A number, man, A83892. And he was
And
from Hazard in East
he was from
LA.
Hazard, huh? East
Yeah,
LA.
he was from East Los Hazard. And he got into it with a gentleman known as Mad Dog Padilla. His first name was Hector, B3477.
Still alive. Shouts out to Hector Padilla, man.
Oh, gee, man, salute. Um, and he was a twice convicted murderer from San Jose. You know what I mean? He wasn't no, you know, petty criminal or nothing. But Salas's crime partner and good friend was Pie Face, Carlos Ortega. And Ortega had stolen a pair of Padilla's personal shoes and gave them to Robot as a gift. You know, so Morning Yard, Padilla had been drinking Pruno and he got confronted by Salas as being a thief. And you know, that's like calling somebody a punk. You know what I mean? If you call him a prison thief, it's up there. It's just as bad. You know, you can't be known as no jailhouse thief, and especially in those times. Nowadays they'll beat you up and remove you. Back then they'll run something through you. So anyway, later on in the day, afternoon yard release, Padilla was still drunk a little bit and he got stabbed. He got booked by Robot. Padilla's cellie, who was Manuel Benito Romero, was also stabbed by Robot in San Quentin's Alpine section on the 5th tier. And he had tried to come assist Padilla, and he ended up getting booked as well. Robot ended up getting caught for the Pagata about 3:05 p.m. when he tried to discard his knife or whatnot. Fast forward a little bit through the day, man, and in the evening, going to Chow, it appeared there was only roughly 4 EME members left in the GP. All the rest were in AC. And according to history, it was Panchi, Cappy, Toddy, and Frog Valdez. On September 15th, major fights occurred. You know, not only the little skirmishes in the Chow Hall, but a rioting broke out with at least 22 inmates got hit.
It started on the 5th tier of Alpine section, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. And then 22 inmates were wounded. Staff identified all Latino inmates fighting, including Torres, Panchi, NFM member. They called it NFM. Lips. Lips ended up getting stabbed later. But anyway, all these inmates were with the NF, man. But it culminated in a MA affiliate from Diamond Street, known as Cricket Gallegos, being killed.
There's been question marks about whether he was a member or an associate. But regardless, he was alive on one side. I mean, I'm gonna give respect to those ex-members from the other side who say that he was just an associate. Okay, we'll agree with that. You know what I'm saying?
Doesn't matter. Yeah, war is war. Yeah, he was on their side. I mean, who knows? So anyway, when Pollo, Marty, and Bobo and all them, you know, were responsible in some form or fashion for that individual cricket getting killed, so they decided to go ahead and, you know, mark that as one of the turning points and make it the honorary birthday, man. So, you know, that's basically in a nutshell how it came about, why they picked that day. You know, there's a lot of days that could be picked, you know, and it's just like the NR, the Nuestra Raza. January 22nd of 84 isn't really when it started or anything like that. You know, it's just certain days that coincide with events right around that time that are like, hey, you know, let's make this the birth date in order to honor this moment in history. You know what I mean? So that's it in a nutshell. That's extremely accurate with the names, with the CDC numbers, etc. You know, and that's the story I've heard from older familianos as well.
So the date was actually September 15th. It wasn't actually September 16th. There's actually a chrono that's out there that says that the prison was actually on lockdown, but they had some skirmishes during that lockdown when they were doing control release feeding, because they didn't know who was on what side or who was at war. Because like we said, both these factions were able to coexist at one time. There wasn't a huge membership list within both these groups. I think the NF didn't have that many members at that time. I think maybe even maybe approximately 12 or 20 members at that time. And I think the EME, they didn't have a lot of numbers as well. You know, but both aligned with a lot of associates. And see, The robot Salas, man, robot Salas was a straight beast, man. That dude was no joke, man. When you want to talk about a henchman that put in so much work, I mean, that dude was having people hit. He was hitting people, man. Very influential Mexican mafia member. You know what I'm saying?
He was about that action.
That was the straw that broke the camel's back. I think there was another murder that happened, man. I don't know if you can pull it up, but there was an individual named Neri. I think Philip Neri, that was killed. That was actually from either Bakersfield. I want to say that for some reason, he was dating the sister or cousin of Cheyenne, and Cheyenne was dating the cousin or sister of him. There was some type of weird reaction, man. But you know, Maravilla played a key part in this whole situation as far as that death that happened with that one individual that you first described. I forgot the first murder, man, but it just was a continuous trend, man. And see, they were already in the works of putting something together. And see, the original NF, right, which fell under the Padrino system, which, you know, Chalo and Weddle Morgan and you know, Little John, it changed later on into the criminal organization aspect in the 70s. I'm saying, because in order to have any type of movement, cause, or whatever, you have to be threatened by the threat of oppression. You know what I'm saying? Therefore, the NF's number one threat was the oppression that was occurring by the Mexican mafia, the EME. But at the same time, every group, once you can have a group, what's the first thing you need to do? You need to become self-supportive. So therefore, in prison, there's all kinds of rackets. You know what I'm saying? This is where both these organizations were fighting for in the beginning. The NF was starting off by the threat and to stop the torment and oppression by Mexican mafia members. People don't realize that. To be a place for the common people to sit there and take a stand. The EME was very abusive. That's well documented in history.
Hey, you know just to go off what you said about, you know, being established, man, that's like the very first sentence of the main part of the Constitution says the primary purpose or goal of this organization is to building up on the outside into a strong, self-supporting familia. You know, you have to be able to bankroll, finance, and force. You have to be able to do all those things, and you can't rely on others. Eventually, when you're big enough that you have that sewed up, you can delegate to others, but strength comes from within. You know what I mean? You have to be able to have your solid core established where you don't need no outsiders, interference, help, anything like that, or you're going to fail. You know what I mean? So you're right what you said, bro. That's one of the main goals of the group.
This is the main recognition day for September 16th. You know, I think a lot of it also pays tribute to Mexican Independence Day, cultural thing.
Yeah.
There's all kind of things that play a factor in it, man. And you're going to have some discrepancies. Well, did it happen on the 15th? Did it happen on the 16th? Well, according to CDC documents, the whole prison was on lockdown for the riot that happened September 15th, where Cricket Gallegos was killed. Whatever it may be, this issue happened, the shoe war. You know what I'm saying? They could have been prevented, but it had been escalating for years. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I don't think the NF originally, you know, they're all focused in the beginning, may have not been I think the oppression wasn't as the aggression from the MA just started to slowly build because the MA's direction was changing. Before, you could just be a convict and not be associate, let them run the rackets, let them control it, and you weren't a victim. But when you start to prey upon your own people, what you see in both these groups now, they've preyed on their own people. This is when you start to become, you're going to have some fight backs. People are going to not want to tolerate it. The proof's in the pudding, man. We see it every time in every story. That's why you have all these factions that have broken off. Why? They are feeling oppressed. They're feeling controlled. And when you start to oppress and try to control your own people in a way where people are going to be resistant to it, it's going to give birth to these movements. And so that's the facts behind September 16th, 1968. It set off a wave of violence. I think there was an estimated 34 killings, tick-for-tack killings within the year after Cheyenne's death. From 68 to 72, there was a lot of back and forth killings, stabbings of members and associates, however you want to label it, man.
Hey, that's 68 to 72 is also taught to me, and it is considered the greatest period of bloodshed in the organization.
It's called the 5-year war. For some reason, it existed in 4 years, but they call it the 5-year war. I don't know why.
Well, if you think about it, look.
Yeah.
You know, mathematically it's 4, but in reality it's 5.
You know, I mean, there's different people that, you know, I hear different theories. I've heard old school NF members, that talk to Mad Dog and all that. And they say the reason why a lot of these guys say that the NF doesn't have no killings is because they still want to feel superior in their place. That's how the mentality always was. I don't know. We weren't there. I think there was killings on both sides,
There's
members and associates. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the enemy was very treacherous. You know what I'm saying? We talked to the old timer. The old timer told us personally, he goes, man, there was 12 of us that were killed. There were 7 of them. You know what I'm saying? That was the honest answer. That was the most impartial answer that I got from an actual member. But they also said that we hit more of them on the streets. You know what I'm saying? So
they say we got a lot. They say we got a lot more hits without fatalities as well.
Yeah, but you got to remember back then there was.
Well, not we. Let me reiterate for people who always try to say that we're still trying to put ourselves in the present. The NF got more hits without fatalities.
You know how many hits that occurred back then that are
Hundreds, bro.
That people don't realize who did what. That even these old groups don't know. You caught someone slipping, you're whacking them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I've seen old timers, man, with welts on their back, stab wounds. I'm like, what happened? He goes, oh, I got locked in the kitchen with some EME members and they stabbed the shit out of me. I'm like, oh shit. You mean?
Hey, check this out, man. I had heard from an old white man, A number. I told you I met an old white dude with the A number. He says there, you know where Blood Alley is in San Quentin? That little corridor that goes from the lower yard to the upper yard?
Yeah.
It's just a little stretch, maybe, I don't know, fucking 30 yards, 100 feet, He says that everybody hated going through there because almost every day someone was getting plucked in there.
Oh, yeah.
And that was back in the early 60s.
Yeah.
Every day somebody owed money, somebody was talking to somebody's property, another person, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they getting took.
Something was happening every day in Blood Alley, and that's why it's called Blood Alley. Man, I've been through there one time when I went through R&R. They walked us through there to the upper yard, and I was just like, man, this is a historical little stretch of 100 feet right here, boy.
Oh, yeah. See, I totally agree, man. But all these prison groups, they were born by convicts that were doing things like that, by convicts that were trying to take your manhood, by convicts that were trying to, force you to do this and taking your canteen. That's what birthed all these groups, man. All these movements and these little political groups and organizations and causes, man. They did it to themselves. California in the 50s, right, was more of a convict mentality. You were a convict. It was about what you did as a man. You know what I'm saying? You had your little cliques or whatnot, man, but it was about who was stronger. It was basically anarchy in prison. Because the groups decided to form and put together, it became a very racial motivation. You know what I'm saying? Racial groups started to be born. And that's where we're at today, man, as far as, with the 1968, September 16th, it's recognized as the expulsion of the NF. This is where they say that the NF finally took a stand. It was already created years before, but this is where the NF said, we're not going to take it no more. The straw that broke the camel's back, and they used to call it the all-out blitz. And you're going to hear different rumors that different pintas went off at the same time. I mean, like I said, man, there's a lot of history behind both these groups. You know what I'm saying? And I never, it's just weird when you see the evolution of what happened from back then to where we are today. And these groups are still thriving.
Hey, on a little different subject, man, the rumor is true. Tracy is closed. One of my homeboys went by DVI yesterday and took a video. It's a ghost town, bro. It's crazy seeing Tracy like that. That was the last prison I've been to. I sat in the hole there for 6 months or so.
Yeah.
But man, I'm just curious, man. I wonder what's going to happen to that institution. I know this is off topic, man, but it was fresh in my mind.
What they should do is we should go get a contract with Hollywood and see if we can make a movie, man. You know what I'm saying? Real talk. I mean, it's open real estate. You know what I mean? It is a prison with history. Tracy's really recognized. That'd be a perfect place. So if there's any media people out there, man, that want to do a movie, man, reach out to Convict's Perspective. We can get this cracking.
Hey, I'll tell you what, man, if it wasn't Tracy, man, I would pick Quentin. You know what I always want to do? A lot of people don't even know this, but under Alpine section, there's some dungeons down there where they used to throw you in the hole in the early 1900s and 1800s and stuff that I bet it's not a cool environment, bro. I would pay money to go on a tour and go down into them dungeons. I got a couple hundred on that. That'd be sick with it, or Alcatraz, man. That's another place, bro. But I would definitely like to do something about Tracy, man. I'm sure they have very, very restricted access for whatever reason. I don't know, but something we might want to look into. But yeah,
Okay.
man, as far as, Mexico's independence from Spain, man, hey, today's the day to celebrate. We just wanted to touch on why it's significant to that particular organization and dispel any, misunderstandings about that. And you guys have been enjoying the channel a lot lately. We appreciate your support, man. 100% heartfelt. Um, we needed that, man. We needed that boost, man, and y'all brought it to us, man. Thank you, everybody who participated so much, man. And enjoy your September 16th, y'all. Don't drink and drive. Don't go to jail, because what happens in jail isn't no fun. Today's lesson. We always have to have a little lesson. Don't drink and drive. That's today's. It's your boy Rojo, Convicts Perspective, Big Flacco, man. We're out. We'll holler at you later and enjoy your day.